Sir Oliver Lodge once said, "Death is not a foe, but an inevitable adventure." Bilbo Cemetery, the burial site of John Jacob Ryan Jr., father of Lake Charles from 1816 to 1899. Earlier site of the ancient Attakapaw Indian village. There's no telling what was here before they were here. And now, tonight, we get a chance to come in and try to make contact with everyone. So come join us tonight as we explore the ghosts of Bilbo Cemetery. Prior to being Lake Charles, the Attakapaw Indians called this place home, known as man-eaters.
They were viewed as man-eaters, supposedly by the Chitimacha, and that's what the word Attakapaw means. Attakapaw means man-eater in the Chitimacha language.
Founding fathers on a barge.
Jacob Ryan, who's one of the founders, took a barge, petitioned the government to allow us to move the parish seat to Lake Charles.
And so many more unknowns that we hope to make contact with. We were directed to contact Mr. Adley Cormier, local historian, and he shared with us stories that we had not heard.
The Attakapaw Indians wouldn't have donated anything. Okay. It would have been pulled from them, you know, by white man. Okay. The whole business of the Ishak Indians, and I like to call them Ishak because that's what they call themselves. Okay. There's still some Ishak that live here, although they're very, very, very scattered. Their history is not well described because they were nomadic. And because they didn't have a village structure, they were viewed as very primitive by not only the early European settlers, but also by other Indian tribes in the area, the Chitimacha, for example. They viewed the Ishak as being very, very primitive, and because they'd come and they would raid the villages of the Chitimacha, because the Chitimacha had baskets and textiles and all that stuff. The Ishak were essentially just nomadic, seasonally nomadic, and they would move around, and there were probably no more than 50 to 70 groups in southwest Louisiana, because this was a poor part of the country. Okay. It was mostly marshland and prairie with tall grass and buffalo, if you can imagine, and all of that in the early part of the 1800s and 1700s and on. And they never had a written language. They didn't have they were never very numerous. They were viewed as man-eaters, supposedly by the Chitimacha, and that's what the word Attakapaw means. Attakapaw means man-eater in the Chitimacha language. Okay. So when you call an Attakapaw, you do it because it's convenient, but it's not really accurate. They themselves call themselves Ishak, I-S-H-A-K, and they would go after oysters and clams. They would eat that, and they would go there one season. Then they might go here and do deer. Then they might, do this and do that. But they didn't have agriculture or herding or any of that sort of thing. They really were a very primitive tribe.
This rocky walkway leading to one of our founding fathers' final resting place, this looming statue of Jesus, set the tone for what we expect to find tonight. Will we find the Ishak or something else? This worn path leads me directly to the founding father of Lake Charles, Mr. John Jacob Ryan. He died in 1899, 1 year before the turn of the century. If you'll recall, we were told a story of him petitioning to move the state seat to the city of Lake Charles. And when he was given the okay, he loaded up his lodge on a barge and floated it downriver, and he built the first ever courthouse in Lake Charles.
Jacob Ryan, who's one of the founders, took a barge, petitioned the government, the state government, to allow us to move the parish seat to Lake Charles. He took his little barge with some oxen and such, and it was a little one-room log cabin type house. He loaded on his barge, brought to the lakefront, and moved to this spot.
Wow.
We began to grow. They built another one. We began to grow more. They built another one, and this one was quite large, and I can show you a photograph of it. It's the one we lost in the fire.
Okay.
Of 1910.
Okay.
Which encompassed all of Lake Charles.
Cemeteries have always been a place of comfort for me. I can always find my thoughts, and I feel at peace. Tonight, I would like to ask Mr. John Jacob, what would he do today if he were still here? How would he feel about the city and how it's grown and the changes we've made and the lakefront? How would he feel about being buried right here on the water?
This area doesn't really talk about its history very much. And part of it is that when you're studying Louisiana history, it's essentially the history of New Orleans is how it boils down. So there's very little history to the west of the Mississippi River. And even though there's a lot of history that is talked about, there's no champions of the history of Southwest Louisiana, because said it's very hard to write the history of Southwest Louisiana because it's a very young part of the country. And in other parts of the country, when you're talking about history, you're talking about people's great-great-great-grandfathers.
Right.
And like Charles, you're talking about people's fathers and grandfathers, and that's too close to tell a history.
There have been reports of people driving by on the highway and seeing spirits walking through this cemetery. There is a Laura Bilbo buried here, and I'm not sure who she's the daughter of, but hopefully tonight we can make contact with somebody who can give us those answers. The Eshok Indians, known as the Attakapaw, man-eaters by their fellow tribes. They had no written language and were considered primitive by everyone they came in contact with. This was their land, their settlement, that European settlers took over long ago.
And no written language, and that means that they were not really well viewed by either their fellow Indian tribes or the white man that came after. That spot where Bilbo Cemetery is was actually one of their settlement spots.
Okay.
But when white man came, white man took it and actually built Cantonment Atkinson first before the Bilbos took it over. Cantonment Atkinson was the base in the southern part of the no man's land area in order to strengthen this area and to provide an American presence in South Louisiana. And that was the end of the no man's land period here. Before then, when it was no man's land, it literally, from 1803 until that point, the area between the Sabine and, you could say, the Mermentau, was essentially not claimed by either the United States or Spain. They just literally said, we're not going to send anybody down there to tax or to monitor those people. They're on their own.
Yeah.
It was viewed as a place that you didn't want to get into. It was lawless. It was where Jean Lafitte comes in. That's where all those Jean Lafitte stories come in, because when he comes here, he's not really acting out of the law because there was no law here. And essentially that notion of isolation and slight aversion to authority and all of the orneriness, that's all part of Southwest Louisiana.
Sure.
Well, that comes from that point. So Cantonment Atkinson was built there. Then Cantonment Atkinson, after a few years, there were enough white settlers in the area that they didn't need Cantonment Atkinson anymore. Those soldiers went back up to Fort Jessup, and the land was sold, auctioned off, and the Bilbos bought it. Thomas Bilbo and Anne Lawrence Bilbo bought it, and it was their farm and sawmill for a while. And the Bilbo Cemetery is the last remaining bit of that Bilbo land there.
Okay.
So yes, it was originally Ishak, but it wasn't given. It went through the army first, and it was bought by them. The Bilbo Farm, which was on the north end of Division Street, and the Ryan Farm, which was on the south end of Division Street. So those were the two parcels of land that they set out and plotted it and put in streets and all that. And that was where Lake Charles began.
Okay.
It's that point is where it began. But I wouldn't say that the Ishaks donated it. They didn't donate it.
Yeah.
It was pulled from their living fingers, is what it was. And they were shot, killed, or contracted diseases from the white man.
An old cemetery, ancient Indian land, and now knowledge of it being a sawmill. Who knows how many people died in that time frame? This is a place we are excited to explore. To help us in our future endeavors, Mr. Adley did have a great piece of advice for us as paranormal investigators.
Well, the part of the problem with ghost hunting in Southwest Louisiana is that so much of the original ancient buildings and situations are gone, and it makes it really difficult because you know that people were killed in the sawmills, for example. So the sawmill sites should be haunted, if they're haunted at all. Older houses in the Charpentier district and in Margaret Place should be haunted, and they probably are. There are some that have stories that are well established. The Lock House, for example, has the story of a smell in the house that they can't get rid of, the smell of orange blossoms or cigar smoke. The Leon Lock House is the corner. It's the live there now. It's on the corner, brick house, 2-story, corner of and what is that little side street there?
Oh, okay.
Yeah, 2-story brick, built by Favreau and Livaday, or designed by Favreau and Livaday. But again, it's difficult if ghosts do exist. They're not traveling ghosts, and I don't know that there are many traveling ghosts. They're going to manifest themselves in and around the place they expired, theoretically.
Right.
That's the story. So a lot of what used to exist here in Lake Charles doesn't exist.
And having brought up John Lafitte, the pirate, which is a great curiosity of mine, I had one further question for Adley.
Talking about John Lafitte.
Okay.
Where is his treasure?
Where is his treasure? No, it's not here. Let me say something about John Lafitte. We think of John Lafitte, pirate, yo-ho-ho, bottle of rum. Well, he wasn't that kind of a pirate. Think of him more like a Amazon fulfillment center, if you will. Lafitte was very much, he took advantage of whatever he could take advantage of. And he ran a business that essentially brought goods to people without question, without taxes. And that made a big difference to people's survivability in these sorts of areas. He did have some gold and silver, but really not a whole lot of that sort of thing. We are told that he ran this ring of essentially black marketeers that would take stuff on the sailing vessel, because that's the way most goods came to the New World, and he would take that stuff and then he would trade and do those sorts of activities. It was a matter of trading. So I don't know that you'll find his gold buried anywhere here. His gold would have been something that he would have kept in sites. I mean, tomorrow they might find a pot of gold out there, but it's unlikely that it would have been here, because he didn't derive gold from here. He might have used this place as sanctuary from time to time.
And while he makes the outlook of treasure seem bleak, he does leave us with one clue.
I mean, if you do find his gold, it would be in a pot, in an iron pot covered with several layers of waxed muslin, more than likely. That would be how you would ordinarily find it. So if you ever find that, it would be a pot of gold rather than a treasure chest of gold.
So basically, John Lafitte was a leprechaun.
Well, it's possible. It's possible.
setting up for our outdoor investigation at Bilbo Cemetery in Lake Charles, Louisiana. We begin the night at the front of the cemetery, and already Bilbo proves to be active. On Josh's first investigation back, he picks up two entities on an app on his phone. While we are not fans of apps, they have proven to be useful in the past to direct us in a location.
Oh wow, yeah, that's a good one.
There was two. It was on both of them. Look, there.
Get out of here.
Isn't that freaky?
Yeah. That other one was a really good one. It had definition.
See, that's the tree.
Oh, look, there it is.
I see.
Moving closer to the trees to show that we're not just picking up the trees, this proves that there is something out there showing itself to us. Do they want to communicate? Are they happy we are here?
That one had,
You decide.
I mean, it was definition.
Dancing on top of the
Yep.
headstones. Ooh, I don't want to mess with y'all. Alright. Oh, look at you. That's cool.
Moving further into the cemetery, near what will become the focal point of this investigation, the gravesite of Mr. John Jacob Ryan, we take our guestigator of the night, Miss Elizabeth Hebert, who was gracious enough to assist us with filming our Season 4 intro, and we introduce her to the spirit box.
So, Jacob Ryan, are you here with us? Jacob Ryan, are you here with us tonight? Alright, so we hear that you're here. Can you tell us a little bit about yourself? Can you tell us, did you float your barge down the river? Did you hear that?
Yes. I don't know what he said. He said yes.
He said yes. Yeah, that was a whisper. You said yes, right? Did we hear you correctly?
Yeah. I said yes. I heard that one.
This series of responses validated our original thought that Mr. John Jacob Ryan is still here. And whom or whatever we were speaking to continued the conversation.
Whoa. It said what I was saying at the same time. Let's ask its name.
Did it? I
Yes.
thought so. What is your name? Can you say your name? Jacob? Did it say Jacob?
Jacob?
Did you go by Jacob or John? John.
And then,
It's 3 birthdays. What? Yes?
Yes.
It's 3 birthdays. It's 3 birthdays. What? Yes?
Yes.
making sure we use all the energy available, I make Elizabeth ask the next question.
Did you know that they named Bryan Street after you? What? Bryan Street. They named Bryan Street after you.
These two back-to-back responses sound as though Mr. Jacob Ryan knew they were going to build a road and name it after him. And then a female voice sounds like she says they're lucky. Did he know the road was going to be built and named after him? And is the female voice saying they're lucky that they built it, or that we're lucky to have it? You decide.
What? Ryan Street. They named Ryan Street after you.
One more response that we received at John Jacob Ryan's grave was the answer yes. This came after Roger asked if he was happy.
Alright. John, are you happy? No. 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 That was enough. That second one was enough.
Moving back to the original trees, where Josh first found evidence with the SLS app on his phone, he brings a millimeter and Paul, and they receive a hit on the millimeter that they cannot debunk.
Hey, come over here. By this tree.
Okay.
All of them are broke off, man.
So, there's obviously no power out here at all.
Right.
So, my EMF meter by this tree keeps getting spikes.
What is it now? Okay, what's your meter reading now?
It's at 0.
Okay.
Right next to this tree. Oh. The June bug just hit me in the face.
Got attacked by the June bug.
So look.
You can see.
Oh, you can't see
There's
that.
no power lines coming across here, but it went from 0. The highest it was 6.0.
We're at 10.
Oh, it just spiked to 10.
So right here, there's some kind of energy or something. But I'm just on the path, but nowhere else, just right here.
Is there someone right here that wishes to talk to us? My name's Paul.
There was no identifiable reason for any EMF readings, as we are in a cemetery with no power anywhere in sight. This was an anomaly we could not explain. Back near John Jacob Ryan's grave, the team comes across something a little darker.
John, who is Steven that's scared? What's his last name? His last name. His last name. His last name.
Hey, that was a little darker. That was dark.
That gave me goosebumps.
Hey, who are you? Are you scaring kids?
It is at this point that Morgan and our investigator Elizabeth call it a night and decide to leave. But while they are leaving, the voice seems to get agitated when Roger continues to ask questions. And so the girls decide to say a prayer before they leave.
John, are you so happy? Did he say shut up? I heard shut up.
While I am filming Morgan and Elizabeth say a prayer, a voice calls Roger a 0 and then tells him to shut up. Or is it speaking to the girls praying, telling them to shut up? You decide.
So happy? So happy? So happy? What are you talking about? Who is this? Is this still John?
Moving back to the grave, I know that we have been told someone is scaring children earlier in the night, and I don't like bullies. I want to talk to this darker voice, and I call Paul over to see if we can get some more communication.
Someone else scaring kids. You ever visited before?
Not on me. I was just trying to get going and put it. And then started talking. And then started talking. And then started talking.
Someone else.
Someone else. This is Paul.
Hello? Who is scaring kids? Steven, you're scaring kids? Yeah. That was it. Yeah.
That was the instant yes.
Steven, why are you scaring kids? You don't know? Steven, do you want to hurt these kids?
Holy the mosquitoes are insane. This has been the year of mosquitoes.
Steven, why do you want to hurt these kids?
Holy
What did he say?
I don't know, but it sounded like he said Roger.
At the time, we all heard Roger's name come across the S-Box. When reviewing the footage, however, I heard something very different. What do you hear? Whatever the voice is saying, it is clear that it's agitated. Setting up the GS2 laser, we try one final experiment at Bilbo Cemetery to try and make contact.
You want to talk about?
Whoa!
You want to talk about John? You over here? To our right?
Come walk in front of this laser grid again.
No, just
There's two of them over there.
Move, Steven, if you're there.
So that's crazy that it picked up temperature, but not.
There you go. Oh, there you are.
There it is.
Is John here? Can you walk over to John, Ryan?
It's right here. Whatever it is, it's right
Yeah.
here.
All right. The
Like
other side.
on the walkway. Can you come over here next to us? In front of us?
Whoa.
Whoa.
Thank you.
That was over there by the walkway.
Yeah.
Come stand right here. Come stand next to Roger, give him a high five. Can you hold his hand? Oh, they like Roger.
Yeah.
Did your hand get cold? Did it really?
Yeah.
It's standing right there.
Yeah.
It's standing right there.
Thank you, Steven. Appreciate you, brother.
This blue indicator showing something standing right next to Roger, and Roger stating that his hand got cold, indicates to me that something made contact with Roger from the other side. Was it John Jacob Ryan? Or Steven that we don't know? Or something else? You decide.
Is that good with you? Give me a high five. There you go, buddy.
Look how it stays when he does that.
Yep.
There you are.
There you are. Yep.
That's me.
Yeah, it picks you up.
It picks me up.
And it picks up. There's something. Ooh.
It's Steven.
Or somebody, yeah.
Thanks, Steven. Appreciate you, brother.
That's awesome, man. That is really awesome. Do you feel like he touched your hand?
It was a little tingly.
Your fingers got tingly?
Yeah.
So, Amanda, what happened to you at Myrtle's whenever you were touched?
That's the feeling. It feels like static electricity right on your fingertips.
Yeah.
Yep.
Very cool.
Yep.
Very cool.
Being a paranormal investigator in Southwest Louisiana provides its own unique challenges that we face every day. Paul had a message for everyone out there. I'll let him explain to you what it feels like.
June 7th, it's hot. We're out here at the Bilbo Cemetery. You can't really see much behind me there. With all the outside lights, it's just hard to get a good IR light on the camera. There's a lot of side noise going on. It's very hard to hunt. We've got some good, Roger and Amanda and Marcus had some good S-Box activity on Mr. Ryan's grave. I'm headed out. I'm gonna go reapply some mosquito dope. I'll see y'all later.
And what about our guestigator, Elizabeth? Did she come to a realization that she didn't know before? We'll let her tell you.
Do you believe in ghosts?
I do.
How do you feel about tonight's experience?
Wild. I didn't expect to hear speaking at all. It's been a really cool experience.
Do you feel like you talked to John?
I do.
Jacob Bryan?
I do. Yes.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
That's awesome. You're a rock star.
So what does it all mean? What does it add up to? For everyone, it means something a little different. Being able to step into our own past, learn about the origins of our city, and talk to the people who helped make it happen. For me, being able to reach through the pages of time and touch the past is enough to keep me going. What about you?
You must be hungry.